Coming up on today's show, Mariko Sakai coaches powerful women to embody their sovereign feminine presence and magnetize men who adore and worship them. She also coaches men who want to partner with powerful magnetic women. A lifelong businesswoman turned certified sex, love, and relationship coach, she's trained in tantric sexuality, conscious dating, and women's empowerment. She is also a dominatrix and a black belt martial artist. Her work blends all of this into a uniquely embodied approach to sovereignty and relationships. Welcome to Loving Without Boundaries, where we hear inspiring stories, share actionable advice, and talk about the challenges and the joys of ethical non-monogamy and polyamory. I'm your host, Kitty Chambliss. Coming up, my conversation with Mariko Sakai. Welcome back to Loving Without Boundaries, where I am really excited to be speaking once again with Mariko Sakai, who has been on our podcast before, and I've had the delight and pleasure to get to meet in person. I believe it's 2 times now at our local Loving Without Boundaries community events, and it's been just great having your energy there, your vibe, your enthusiasm. So I'm really thrilled to be able to have you back on the show. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me again. It's such an honor, and then I am super excited to share with your audience today.
Yay, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm thrilled for the conversation. So let's kick it off with this question, which is, what have you been working on and creating lately that you're excited about that's bringing you joy?
Oh, thank you for that question. So I've been creating a program for women first, and also in the background, in parallel, creating a program for men. Mm-hmm. And which has been so exciting. And then there's just so much that I would like to go into it. But it is a program called Sovereign Feminine. And then it is to help create a woman who wants to be a magnet to magnetize men who adore and worship them. Mm-hmm. So that's the idea of this program that I'm creating and that I've created. And also I coach men who want to create a partnership with a powerful woman who are magnetic and powerful.
Ooh, I love it. And I love that you're helping both sides of that coin. That's beautiful, especially being somebody who's out in the dating world. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And I'd love to understand a little bit more about that word sovereignty. I've heard it maybe used here and there and possibly with different contexts. So I'd love to ask you, how would you describe what sovereignty is from your perspective in relationships within your work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. I love that question. So So I feel like the easier way some people might relate to this word sovereignty is that as I speak the word, I am thinking about like a queen, like a queen or like a goddess energy. Mm-hmm. But then when I talk about like a queen or princess or whatever, like I feel like a lot of people don't really, like think that what kind of person that queen is, and then so this is, but when I say sovereign feminine, it really means that who the person is, what kind of queen or what kind of goddess-like woman are we talking about? And then it all comes from the inside of the person and how she lives. So maybe the easier other word that I could use to replace the sovereign would be autonomy, autonomous woman. Mm-hmm. But the autonomy is a very important concept. However, I feel like when I use the sovereign word specifically, there is that the influence of how someone lives a life goes beyond just a personal autonomy. It's like, we all live in a community, in a society, and then we are cognizant of the fact that there are a lot of stories and then conditionings and then society's rules and things like that come into our life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I envision for using the sovereign feminine is that as a woman who is very powerful and influential,
Mm-hmm.
and then so, of course, she is very autonomous, but also in a way that influence others so that people will follow, want to follow, not because she asked them to follow follow her, but the other people feel like, oh my God, I want to follow this person, like because she is just so magnetic and then soft and then strong at the same time. And just like people are just drawn to that, you know? So that's why I use the word sovereign or sovereign feminine, because I feel like that is, I don't know, it's a very, to me, it's a very magnetic concept. And then to live that intentionally is, yeah, it feels great.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I have so many awesome questions I'm excited to ask you, but I think what I'll ask here is your training and your background are fascinating too. So how does your training in tantric sexuality, women's empowerment, dominatrix, and even your black belt martial arts background, how does that inform your work in this space?
Yeah, well, thank you. So every training, significant training, like the sex coaching and then tantra and these dominatrix training and all of these training and martial arts, all of these things were like, for me, like just ended up becoming like this direct and an embodied experience of how the conditioning or the society's stories that we are supposed to be like, woman should be this, a woman should be that, like a man should be this, and all of the stories are actually lies. And then the opposite, almost like every case, just opposite is true. And then so I was like, why? I mean, why did I, like believe in this story? And then I had this like shame and then fear and then judgment about myself for being or wanting certain things. But when I experienced this opposite thing, that the society tells me to be or do, I was like, oh my God, this was not true. And then so every single teaching, significant, like the training that I received led me to this understanding. Um, and then so, yeah, so I guess in some ways that has that in common, but everything I did. So for example, the self-defense. So I took the self-defense course. Well, I was looking for self-defense classes because after I became a single mother, it's really funny that, before I got married, I was single person. But I guess it just didn't occur to me that, like, am I safe? Like, well, I was kind of like taking for granted that, well, I have a male partner and then, maybe something happens. Or, like when I was younger, I had my father, my older brothers, or whatever it is, like I just kind of felt like this, like I didn't really think about it. But then when I became a single mother, I'm like, wow, I actually don't feel safe. And then so I decided to take the course. And then when I was taking this course, I realized that all of the things that told me that, women are weaker and then smaller in the body. And then so, we need to rely on men to protect us, and then I was like, wow, that's not true because yes, it's true that, my body might be smaller. And then if I try to do like a muscle power contest, I may not win. But that's actually not how we protect ourselves. And then that's not really important. There are so many ways to create safety or overcome the opponent that are stronger and bigger than me. So I realized that in reality, that was not true. But I feel like in my own experience, like I didn't even question it. Like, oh yeah, like I am weaker, and then also like aggressive woman doesn't feel very attractive. So why would I pursue something like that? Um, so yeah, like this whole teaching that we receive from society discourages women to even try to create our own safety.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like these type of things is just really telling us to give our power away to other
Yeah.
people. But if you think about it, it's about our own safety. And how unsafe are we supposed to feel if
Mm.
if we are telling ourselves that, oh, we can't do it, we can't protect our own selves, we have to rely
Mm-hmm.
on somebody else. I mean,
Oh, wow.
how horrible is it that we are taught to believe something like that,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So that's just one example, but like, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a powerful example. Yeah, and I definitely can relate to that very much because my husband, he was studying to get his black belt in karate when I met him, and he's since gotten 14 black belts, including Brazilian jiu-jitsu and all of that. And I've taken self-defense back in college, similar to you, where I thought I want to be able to protect myself. I want to feel strong.
Mhm,
So I really relate to what you said, as well as how that then spoke to the work that you do or feeds into the work that you do. When you
mhm.
mentioned the conditioning and some of the thinking that we have, so I'd love to ask what are some of the examples of the patriarchal lies that we've been told and how each of those is actually wrong?
Yeah, so well, thank you. So the I already shared one of them, that the one of the biggest ones, right? Which is that women need to rely on men, for the so that story continues to say, and then this is something that I received specifically from my mother, is that she told me that because that the man will protect the woman, the women are supposed to do like a cooking and cleaning inside of the house, and then, like the women are naturally good at this and that, like in the things inside of the house, which is really not true.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and I can attest to that. I don't do hardly any of the cooking. I don't do hardly any of the cleaning, all that.
Right? And then so that's one, like we are supposed to be good at those things, but nah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep.
I mean, there was some. I mean, like I enjoy cooking, but it's for the different reasons.
Right, right.
And so that's one thing. And then another thing would be that this is something I hear quite a bit in in the media, like social media, quite a bit, that women are supposed to be submissive to men.
Mm. Mhm.
And that there's a lot of conditioning about, especially like a woman who are, like a dating or whatever it is, like the relationship, want to improve relationship with men, that to teach women to be like a feminine, soft and sweet, and like, so that there's nothing wrong with that, but the extension of that is, and I'm pretty sure that you probably heard this, like like you don't emasculate men,
Mhm.
like that the man needs to be leaders and then the women are followers, and then so don't like, so like a step aside, step back, so that men can step up for you, and like all these stories, and I'm curious
Mm.
if you've heard of those.
I have. I'm in the dating world right now, and I would never say who the author was or name of the book, but I remember reading an ebook, and it was pretty much teaching women to do just that. It was like, let your
Mhm.
man be your hero, step
Exactly.
back and let him take the lead. And they were, in modern days, that's what they were telling the women to do in order to attract a man. So it's literally
Exactly.
exactly what you just said. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yes. And I just and I feel like a lot of these things are happening, and I feel like that the women are starting to question themselves. So when the women lead, um, I feel like the women are criticized for, oh, you're leading too much. You're a woman and blah, blah, blah. And then so there are studies about like a woman's leadership and about actually like a woman are more suitable, like more suited for like a leadership positions. But there are a lot of women who, or the men, well, I guess all of us are very much conditioned to believe otherwise. So if women are, using their leadership, then, people will criticize her, like, oh, she's being this way and that way. And then, oh, she's not sweet like, some other woman. So, yeah, I feel like because of this conditioning being existing, and then women get so much criticism for being different from the conditioning, the stories. And then just really leading what's real, inside of her.
Mm.
It really, really prevents this, like, what's really real for that person, to really come out because of the strong, strong stories. But yeah, there are lots of the studies that proves that these are really not true.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can definitely back that up with a personal experience in my own life. And this was, gosh, it was probably about 25 years ago. I was in my first career, which was graphic design, and I had been offered a position to go up into management. And the first time I was offered it, I declined because I didn't really appreciate the way it was being presented to me, because they were kind of knocking down this woman actually who was in a position of authority and saying, we don't like her, we want to give her job to you. And that didn't feel good. But then
Mhm.
another opportunity came up again later where I was offered another management position. And I didn't seek it out. It was given to me, and
Mhm.
I took it the second time. And somebody who got hired around the same time, who was a man, called me aggressive and said, well, you aggressively went after that position. And it was just, he was trying to shame me, right? And it was
Mhm.
just completely wrong, because I didn't even apply for the position. It was offered to me. And
Mhm.
B, like, I wasn't being aggressive at all. I was just like being myself, and I was just displaying the qualities of a leader, and they offered me the position and not him. And so
Mhm.
to me, it just seemed like he was kind of jealous and ticked off and was trying to say things like that to undercut me. And but
Yeah.
it didn't work. I thrived in that position, and then went
Great.
on to get promoted again, actually at another place. But it's an example of exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And then so what I want is that, like, through these, and then thank you so much for sharing that. I love
Mhm.
that story. And then yes, this is something that, a lot of women experience. And then so I guess I also like became aware of it. Maybe I was hearing more about these kind of stories for other people, and then it could be that I just didn't notice it. but
Mhm.
but to me it was, I guess in a way I was fortunate that I did not have that type of experience that you
Mm.
experienced, but I know it is very, very common.
Mhm.
I guess when I hear other women talk about these things, I was like, "Wow, oh my god, that's horrible," you know?
Mm.
And then
Mhm.
also, like, that there is this pay gap exist, right?
Mhm.
Between men and women, right?
Oh, yes.
Like,
Mhm.
yeah, and then so I personally actually did not experience the pay gap. Like, I was actually, like, highly paid person, like, working among the men. But then when I talk to my woman friends or the coworkers, the colleagues, that they just say, "Oh, no, 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 no." So, like, I really start to pay attention. And
Mhm.
I guess I was maybe, from the beginning, I was the type of person that, like, I have my own ideas. And then so like I will hear what people are saying. For example, like when my mother said that, the men are so, like it just because they're here and, they might be able to protect you. And then so like, let's do this household chores, like when I hear that story, I said, okay, well, that doesn't work for me, so I'm not going to do it. Like, so I was like, I don't know, somehow I was always like living my life hearing these things, but like I was able to some degree, like just not being affected by that for whatever reason.
Mhm.
And then even then, when I took this type of training, like the dominatrix training or the sex coach training or like the martial arts training, I really got to confront. Well, I thought that I actually am free from these things, like I was aware, oh, this doesn't affect me, but it was affecting me, which was really, really profound. And then so I can totally deeply appreciate that, if you are a woman and then actually, the experience, these things that are so unjust and then just really try to diminish, like what you are actually, presenting or that what you're actually doing, I can imagine like it must be like a doubly disempowering,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. I feel very seen and heard, and I'm just one example of, I'm sure, lots of different people that are listening, both men and women and non-binary folks and everybody in between, just to show how we have been so conditioned, and a lot of it is quite binary, actually. Um,
Hmm.
but I love the work that you're doing in terms of really helping people in general, but focusing more on women or people who identify as a woman to step into their empowerment. But I'd love to understand, what are some more common beliefs that women may have that get in the way of their success, of being treated like a queen and showing up that way powerfully in their relationships?
Mm. Well, that is a great question. So I believe it is the difficulty of receiving.
Mm,
If I am to say one thing, I would say that. And then instead, women are, and then so the reason why the women have difficulty receiving is because women are taught to serve others,
mm,
give to others, and then sacrifice for self for others. So because of this, and then because women are taught that if you do these things, you are a good woman. You are the
mm,
best woman if you support other people, if you sacrifice yourself for other people to support and serve other people. Because, well,
mhm,
woman's nature is supposed to be submissive, right?
mhm,
so, so
mhm,
like
mhm,
that's what they're good at. That they're good at obeying to the leaders, and then being submissive to men, and then so that's what they're good at. That's what she's all told. I mean, the women are
mhm.
told. So yeah. So.
I'm curious if there might be also some, like, shame-based beliefs, or wherever they get picked up, of like worthiness, I'm not worthy, or anything
Mm.
else, anything like that that you've seen in your work?
Oh yeah, totally. I
Mhm,
love this question. So the I believe
mhm.
this worthiness um is concentrated in woman's sexuality and in woman's pussy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so because it's like um so how like the woman's woman believe that their sexuality is, or like their sexual satisfaction is secondary to satisfying men.
Mhm.
I mean, don't you believe that? I mean, do you really believe that or like were you taught that you have an equal
Right.
you
Well,
know
and I joke around, that I'm a recovering Catholic, so certainly from my religious background, yeah, I mean, I was taught that well, first of all, sex is dirty and wrong, and it's all for
Right.
procreation. And of course, procreation is all about the male orgasm so that we can procreate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it took me, I'm 56 now at the time of this recording. And so it's taken me many, many decades to release some of that conditioning. So today, I believe that more of an equalitarian type of view, or also if the woman is having a little bit, needs a little bit more time maybe to have her orgasm, like to give her the space to do that. And then, I mean, as we get older, I mean, the gentleman may also have difficulty orgasming. I found that out firsthand as we
Mm-hmm.
get older. So, but treating each other with respect and creating that space so that we both can give and receive pleasure and climax. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I'm at now. But I mean, I had to confront a lot of my past beliefs to get to that place.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. And then so the fact that, women are taught that, like all this kind of feminine products to erase our odors and all that, like stuff like that, right? I mean, that's
Mhm.
just one thing, like that we are taught that our body isn't clean or sacred or like just beautiful, and then it's just, an amazing, especially our pussy, right?
Mm.
And then we are taught to believe that it's not very clean or whatever, and which is complete lie.
Mhm.
Like a pussy is an organ that is self-cleaning inside. I mean, of course, the
Mhm.
outside has to be cleaned, right?
Mhm.
But I mean, there's no need for putting a perfume or
Mm. Mhm.
but we are sold these products, right? I mean,
Mhm.
the women are
Literally,
sold
yeah.
these products, right?
Mhm.
So we are just made to believe that something is wrong, and then, like, so, like the pussy isn't very clean, it's not beautiful, and then so the whole thing is just is a horrible conditioning in the stories that we receive, and also like this combined with this belief that our duty is to satisfy men's desires. And so about this desire, for example, they like we keep hearing the stories that, oh, the men always want sex and the woman not so much, and so we have to satisfy men's desires, and then that's also a lie. There is a study that says that there is no gender differences in the like this desires and in sexual, the highly sexual or not so sexual. It's not like the men are more sexual than women, that they are both sexual. It's just that their desires are expressed differently. And also, if you compare these two groups, right, that the man group and then woman group, and then their desire or lack of desire, right, if you take those statistics, the difference between the men and women or the is not as great as the individual differences of the level of desires, which means that this is a myth that the men are has higher sexual desire and drive than women. This is a complete myth. And then so there's just so many studies that says about that, just we've been told lies for many, 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 many years and decades.
Mhm.
And as you probably know, in terms of like women's sexual desires and it not mattering as much as men's, that because of these conditioning probably, and also like body shaming and then pussy shaming,
Mhm.
and also slut shaming, right?
Right.
That when you have like this, like a physically or like in every way attractive and then sexual man, you are praised as a stud. But if
Mm.
you have the similar quality as a woman, you're shamed as a slut, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So we have this slut shaming, and so yeah, definitely there's this double standards going on. And it explained very well to me that the fact that there are so many women who fake orgasms, right?
Mm.
And also, there is a study that says that in the vast majority of women actually, have or regularly experience pain, during sex. And then so all of these things just really highlights that one, women are not having a great time in bed compared to men. And then she's even hiding it. Right? She's hiding
Wow.
the fact
Yeah.
that she's not having a good time. Why did she do this?
And I wonder if that even comes back to safety. Like she thinks that in order to feel safe, it comes back to some of the things we were talking about. Like I need to please my man and I must have a man in my life so that I feel safe. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Is that
Yeah, yeah,
possible?
yeah.
Is that what you find?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mhm.
I do believe that. And then so this is why part of what I teach is that um if women feel like in the back of their mind or wherever it is, believe that she needs a man to have this basic needs met, such as safety. I
Mhm.
mean, how can she actually choose? I mean, I don't think she can actually choose a partner that are truly, feel aligned and then, like
Mm.
I don't think she can. I don't think I can.
Mhm.
If I feel like in the deep down, I feel like I need a man. Make
Mm.
me feel
Yeah.
safe. I mean, I can't.
Mhm.
So this is why, these are again very deeply seated
Yeah.
in ourselves. And then
Mhm.
so I believe, and then it was the case with me, that to be fully autonomous in terms of creating my own safety, and know how to do it.
Mhm.
And then I believe it is one of the key to be able to create an amazing aligned relationship with men.
Yeah. Yeah, which, beautifully stated, and, I love just the flow of our conversation, so that brings me to my next question is how do we create relationships and connections that are truly meaningful? And maybe what goes hand in hand with that is how do we release some of this conditioning that isn't serving us, unlearn some of that conditioning?
Mm. So that's a um that's a wow, that's a great question. So
I
okay.
know we're not gonna be able to talk about all of it here, but just even just touching on it, I appreciate that you have a whole program around this stuff.
Yeah. So it's really hard to say where to start. Um but maybe starting point would be that where you are kind of noticing what's really real inside of you, like your feelings or
Mhm,
like some emotions that come up which you're trying to suppress,
mhm,
or like being told something, or let's say that like at work that the man is mansplaining, for example.
mm,
You're
mm.
kind of feeling like, oh my god, like what do I do? Like
Right. Mhm,
I feel like whenever something like this happens, I feel like, and I'm curious, I don't know if this is also like relatable to men, but as a woman, because of our conditioning, that we are kind of conditioned to suppress, just be quiet about things, and then just kind of complain with our girlfriends or other people, and like, oh my God, this happened at work, and then, oh my God, he's an asshole, like stuff like that. But then I thought that, you know what? Instead of just kind of dealing with that as an asshole, what if you try to, where does that come from? Like in the what is the thing that is causing this annoyance and then this anger inside of you? And then why is he doing this? Why is he mansplaining? You know? And I feel like when we kind of create the opening of like, like this pattern behavior in ourselves that annoys us or like, frustrate us or whatever, but really go deep in that and then like one, why do I what is the part of me that is being frustrated or being angry about? And then going deep. And then whenever I do something like this, and even like I keep doing this, like every time I have a certain reaction, but I don't really express it, like I ask myself, well, why am I not expressing this?
Mhm.
Is it like it being trying to be polite or like trying to keep peace? I feel like
Mhm.
the women do this a lot because it's like
Mhm.
it's called a good girl conditioning, right?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. But then, so imagine, so for example, let's say that you are mistreated by someone,
Mhm.
and then you become so angry and then you feel dirty inside. This person, let's say that, like calls you a slut or something like that, right?
Mhm.
You feel angry. And then, yeah, so I would say that kind of follow that feeling and then just really dig deeper. And then
Mhm.
also, I feel like it's going to help if, like, how would I counter that? Like when someone shamed me about being a slut when I wasn't really being a slut, how do I counter that? What would I do? If that's the same situation happens again, what do I do? Like, and
Mhm.
then I start thinking about, well, maybe I would have said something like this, or, like, I feel like this kind of thing will be a great opening, like in the everyday situations.
Mhm. That's great. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I really appreciate all that you're doing, all of your coaching, and I have a couple of questions around that. So, if there are so many possible relationship dynamics between men and women and in relationships, why do you choose to mainly focus specifically on teaching women to become a magnet for men who adore and worship them? I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, well, thank you. I love to talk about it. So I feel like that particular dynamic of
Mhm.
woman uh, magnetizing men who worship her is like condensed version of so many stories
Mhm.
in the patriarchal society that we live in.
Mhm.
Um, because I feel like we can probably agree on that woman, I hear a lot, like a woman saying that women love to be treated like a queen, you
Mhm.
know? And
Mhm.
then she will often praise like, oh, my man treats me like a queen. And then like, he worshiped the ground that I walk on, like stuff like that. You hear these things and then I do too, right?
Mhm.
But then how many women actually feel that, like of deserving of that?
Mm.
I feel like some woman might think that, well, yeah, I would love a man who will love me, but I choose this word, the adore and then cherish and worship or revere. Like these are like the specific choice.
Mhm.
I'm not really looking to help create a woman who will attract men who love her.
Uh,
I want her to experience specifically the worshipful energy, reverence,
mm.
this type of thing. Um, because it feels scary, I believe, for a lot of women, like, well, am I really? Can I really? Like that seems
Mm.
like the opposite of the conditioning I receive because the women are supposed to be submissive, women are supposed to be serving men and
Mhm.
other people, right? So it just is the complete opposite, right? Of what the patriarchy teaches.
Mhm.
And then so because it's the opposite, I want that.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
yes, and then also, this is the something that um I experienced um after I took the dominatrix training or start taking dominatrix training. It really things start to shift, which was very curious to me
Hmm.
that men literally start showing up, wanting
Mm.
to do that, wanting to worship me or submit to me.
Mm.
And then I thought that, wow, how many women are actually ready to do this, right?
Mhm.
So that's another thing. It's just started to show up in my life. And then when I experienced it, that this actually men worshiping me, or revering me, or adoring me. So this type of energy, when I experienced it in my life, there was a part of me, at least initially, that, oh my God, this is happening. Like I'm actually being worshipped right now, And at the same time, there is just like this profound, this rightness, like, wow, this is actually something that it's a very human thing to do. And I cannot explain it other than just it felt so human. And then it was not just for me, it was for the other person as well. And then lastly, this is another area that there is a study that was done to prove that this being a conditioning, but it is against our nature. That there's a study that confirms that unlike what we are taught to believe, that the men are actually have more submissive sexual desires than women do. And to make it even more interesting, we have this like, how do I call this? Story or assumption in our mind that men are supposed to be, powerful and a leader, and then, they're dominant, naturally dominant. And then so, like they want to sexually dominate women and, all that. The study shows it's actually the opposite, that the men have more submissive desire towards powerful women than women do. And to make it even more interesting, so this study compare like a resource and influence level of men and women to see if more powerful, more influential men would want to dominate or submit to women. And no, actually, across the board, all of the, regardless of the resource or power status of men continue to want to submit to women.
Fascinating.
Powerful. Yeah. And then so, yeah, I mean, I actually did not know this. I learned about this study after the fact,
Oh, wow, that's fascinating. Yeah.
Myself, and I'm like, okay, this makes sense. Yeah, and then so I was like, okay.
That's really interesting. Thanks for sharing all of that. Very fascinating. And I love how you keep bringing in that human feeling. Like it feels natural, it feels human. And so another question that I have to springboard off of that is, even when a man genuinely sees that goddess energy or that queen energy in a woman and feels reverence toward her, what happens when he approaches a woman who does not see her own sovereign feminine or her own goddess energy inside of her? What can happen?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the woman can reject or creep out and say, no, like that, because I believe that because she was never taught that, she has that side in herself, right? And then so I think that it's likely that she would reject such an approach, right? But she might be ready, or she might be open. I mean, I don't know, but I feel like that. And I actually did hear from some men that they are, afraid to approach women in that way because they feel like they don't want to be rejected, right? Of course, they're afraid of rejection. And then I do have men who have told me that, yeah, they approach women in that way, and then, it was not well received.
Yeah. That's I guess, partly what your coaching is there to help prevent, to help
Mm-hmm.
the woman who identifies as such to be in receivership, to be able to hold the space to feel that energy and welcome that energy, and also to help, and when you are working with men, to help them to show up that way and maybe learn resilience to navigate if they do feel rejection, or maybe to approach the right woman, who is ready to receive. Is that also what your coaching for men does?
Um, so I guess when it comes to coaching men right now, like I'm trying to do this in parallel, right?
Mm-hmm.
As I coach women to receive and then be open, and like like that the so that she can have this experience of actually being worshipped,
Mm-hmm.
and then the experience all of these opposites of the things, the conditioning that she's been taught, right?
Mm-hmm.
That includes about the like being able to create safety on her own and all that. But when it comes to men, I do talk to a lot of men who wants to worship a feminine deity, for example,
Mm.
or the serve womanhood. I mean, these are the real desire of coming from men, but they don't really have the person or woman who are open or ready to accept, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then so one of the things that I am actually doing is that to train these men to serve, or like to be the receiver of this practices where women are practicing these different powerful feminine archetypes
Oh, wow.
in
Okay.
in
Mm-hmm.
this like so the, for example, being worshipped.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so like so to for a woman to experience worship, to receiving worship, there has to be someone who is worshiping her.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I'm creating actually this type of container for both
Yeah.
sides, so that there is a person who can actually practice on both sides,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's beautiful. That's some powerful motivation for your work, right?
yeah,
Like the
yeah,
world a more,
absolutely.
sex positive place with deep connections where, they're like this magnetism between people. It's really amazing. So I've totally been loving our conversation. Is there any question, Mariko, that I did not ask you, or anything that you would like to address before we start to maybe close up our conversation?
Oh, I'm actually curious. I don't know if this is okay, but like this is not a question that I want to be answering, but it is a question for you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm curious in terms of like what you see in your community or the clients, like how
Mm.
they, like the this type of like gender stereotypes, or like the are playing a part, and then kind of making the people like your clients struggle.
Mm. Yeah, it's a great question. It's all across the board, and of course, there's going to be recency bias in terms of what I've seen just recently. But what I will say is, I'm 56, and so I do work with people. I've worked with people as young as, I think it was 21 years old, and as old so far as 77.
Mm-hmm.
But lately, I have come across where women are going through menopause and their
Mm.
libido does drop, kind of scientifically drops because their hormones have changed, and couples trying to figure out how to navigate that. And some
Mm.
of them, the woman's libido does not come back. Whereas, even using myself as an example, I did get hormone replacement therapy so that I was able to get my hormone to come kind of back online. But it's a stereotype that's, in that case, it's based on science. And
Mm.
another thing I have seen is, there's a couple that I've been working with where the woman leans more towards monogamy, and the husband more towards multiple relating. And he's been that way ever since he was a teenager. And he had asked me on one of our first encounters he came up with it like an assumption. He was like, "Isn't it right, Kitty, that most women just want to be monogamous and most men want to play the field?" And I said,
Mhm.
"No, that is absolutely not true at all. And you're
Right.
talking to somebody who I'm the one that brought up opening up the relationship and practicing consensual non-monogamy to my husband. It was really, I was the initiator and it was my idea. And I
Right.
work all the time with women who want to, explore their sexuality. They want to feel more of a sense of freedom. They don't want to
Mhm.
sometimes get pigeonholed into the role of mother and caretaker and provider, and
Mhm.
they don't want to lose themselves in that world, or maybe they lost themselves and they're sick and tired of that, and now
Mm.
they want to step into their power, now maybe like 10, 20, 30 years later. And I also learned an acronym the other day that I'd never heard of before, which was one of my clients was doing one of the assignments that I give them, and they referenced the acronym, FLR, and I was like, "FLR, what's that?" So I went into Google, like, "What's the acronym FLR in relationships?" And it said female-led relationship. I was
Yes.
like, "Oh, I'd never heard of that," and I've been doing
Mhm.
this work for a decade. So I was like, "I really learned something today. I learned what the acronym FLR means." And they were having a struggle in the sense that she kind of naturally wanted to be in that female-led relationship, and her
Mhm.
partner, didn't quite jive with that. It didn't quite feel natural to him, and
Mhm.
so they were having some power struggles going on in their dynamic, but there was more, I think, underneath all of that too that we're working on now. But I
Mhm.
thought that was interesting that I'd never heard that term before, and you were nodding like
Um,
you were very familiar with that, which doesn't
yes.
surprise me. So, does
Yes.
that answer your
Yes.
question, at least for off the top of my head?
Yeah, yeah, and
Mhm.
then, yeah, thank you so much for that, like, yeah, that makes so much sense, and then, I was just kinda as I was listening to those examples, yeah, definitely, yeah, I can see that it's, like, your community is, like, the people who are exploring relationships that are, that feels really real to them, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then, I mean, as opposed to what the society tells us
True.
what it
Yeah.
should be.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, that's a great example of like, like how people are hearing, stories or the conditioning from the society. And then if there is some part that is kind of a convenient because it seems to either match or like, what you're, wanting matches that story, then you will kind of want to kind of have a validation from,
Right.
like, well,
Mhm.
this must be what men wants, or this must be what she wants, or whatever, like,
Yeah.
but yeah. Yeah. So my whole, I guess to just kind of summarize my whole point is that no, usually they are not true, and unfortunately, that these conditioning came from this desire years and years ago by people who want to control other people.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, it's the our nature is really not to it is not something that other people can control, but it's true that other people try to do that
Yeah.
in the past, and then we are still living in that
Mhm.
container. So yeah, I mean, I love that you and I am encouraging these people who are just become free from these stories because yeah, they're
Exactly.
not true anyway.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and I partly will say things such as whatever that narrative, whatever that story is that story A, is it in alignment with your values and who you actually are or want to be? And B, is that taking you towards your goals and your vision of the future? Or is it taking you away from them and maybe a relic from the past that you no longer need? And just
mhm,
helping them to change those narratives and stories to be more empowering, whether, male, female, non-binary, like how can you get into a more empowered state where then you can make decisions that align with who you want to be and how you want that your future to be as you move forward. And
mhm.
yeah, I'd love to be worshipped, adored, and revered. So that's I'm gonna line my stories for that.
Yay!
So thanks for the inspiration for that, Mariko. I really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share before we start to close up?
No, I think I feel pretty complete.
Good.
I would love to, just invite, a lot of people to, if the story, inspired people, love to just invite more people. And even if it doesn't have to be like a working with me per se, but I really want to, start a conversation with people,
Mhm.
like if it resonate, or like if it didn't resonate, or like if what we shared today, um, um, create an opening in anyone's mind that says, well, I always wanted that, but like I never really openly spoke about this desire or something like that. But I
Mhm.
didn't know that this was actually, my nature, doesn't have to be something that I feel, I should suppress or feel ashamed of. Or, if anyone felt that way, it will make me
Mhm.
so happy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just want to thank you for being a part of our wider community of folks that want to step into empowerment and sex positivity and really just become who they're really meant to be. And also part of our Loving Without Boundaries community, being a repeat guest here on our show and showing up at our live events. So just really appreciate you, Mariko, and love your energy, love your style. And where can people find you and your work if they'd like to learn more about you?
Well, yes, thank you so much for again having me, and this was a great, fun conversation. The best place to find me is the my link tree, but also my website, mistressmariko.com. And I would love to receive emails, and I will read every single emails. And like I said, I would like to hear from you if what I shared with you today touches you or kind of inspire you to explore something new. And
Mhm.
then so my email is mariko@mistressmariko.com.
Mhm. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for taking time out of your schedule and being so thoughtful with what you wanted to share. I'm sure it will help a lot of people. So until next time, until I get to see you in person again, too, thank you so much.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you like what you heard, are struggling with some aspect of your relationships, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit to work with me as your relationship coach, here's what I invite you to do next. Head over to lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. That's lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply, and book a call to speak with me. I'll get on the phone with you for about 45 minutes, and we'll get you crystal clear on 3 things. Number 1, exactly what's not working well in your relationships right now. Number 2, ideally where you'd like to be and what might be getting in the way. And number 3, the exact strategy to get you there, helping to close that gap. Remember, creating healthy, open relationships does not typically happen by itself. Many often need expert guidance to make it happen. We've helped clients all over the world to feel safe, happy, and secure in open relationships while not losing their mind or their cherished partners. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. I'm Kitty Chambliss, and let's talk soon.